ASMR Topher, and this is my first ASMR video. I would like to dedicate this video to gentle whispering ASMR. There are many fantastic ASMR artists out there, and I want to thank everyone for their content, but gentle whispering is my personal favourite. She has been producing quality ASMR for 9 years now, and if she wasn't the first whispering artist, then she was one of the forerunners, perhaps even prior to the creation of the term ASMR. And I just want to thank her for the professional content that she continues to produce, and I can tell that she still loves ASMR, loves producing new content for the community, and is passionate about her talent even after 9 years. So I'd like to dedicate this video to her. Today's video is about the popular drink called Kombucha. If you haven't heard of Kombucha, then it is a fermented drink made with tea, sugar, water, and something called a SCOBY or mother. Kombucha is sometimes called tea mushroom or tea fungus, although it is not made with mushrooms or fungus. It has been around for around 200 years, and nobody seems to know exactly where it originated. Possibly Russia or China. You can buy kombucha in your local supermarket, but it is also a fun drink to make yourself, and I am going to tell you how to make the basic kombucha with black tea. The kombucha that you see in front of you is actually one that I've made, but the bottle on the left is a shop bought winter kombucha, a chai spice and ginger flavour. You can flavour your homemade kombucha with any number of herbs or spices. You can also make kombucha with different types of teas, black tea, green tea, red bush or rooibos tea. The kombucha I make is generally with black tea. I'd like to introduce the thing that helps make kombucha, the thing that you have to make your own kombucha. Should you wish to not buy the shop bought products, then you will need to procure a SCOBY. SCOBY came from a good friend of mine, and I've had it a year or two, and when she gave it to me, it was originally probably 1/3 of the size it is now. As the SCOBY makes the kombucha, it grows sometimes quite rapidly, and often as a result your SCOBY outgrows the jar that you create your kombucha in. SCOBY actually stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, and it looks pretty disgusting. It is actually not fungus or mushrooms as some people think, but a combination of lactic acid bacteria and acetic acid bacteria and yeast. And a similar thing is actually part of making kimchi and also beer. This particular SCOBY is very good at producing kombucha quickly due to its size. I only recently discovered that the name for this SCOBY shape is a pellicle, and it's similar to a sourdough starter. Some people call it a mother. If your SCOBY gets too big, you are able to cut part of the SCOBY away and you can give it to a friend, or you can actually chop it up and stir fry it. I've seen people use it in stir fries as a sort of meat replacement. This particular SCOBY seems fairly robust. I actually haven't been making kombucha for a few weeks at least, maybe a couple of months, and it's just been sitting in a jar in some sugary tea solution, and it stays pretty happy. When you first start making kombucha, you have two options really. You can buy a SCOBY or get a SCOBY from a friend, or you can buy a bottle of kombucha and grow your own SCOBY. And the way to grow your own SCOBY is quite simple. You check with the manufacturer to see if their kombucha is live, if it has essentially a small amount of SCOBY in the solution, in the drink that you buy, and you take some of your shop bought kombucha drink and you add sweetened black tea to some of your shop bought drink once it's cooled to room temperature, and you store that in a cupboard at room temperature, and over several weeks or longer your SCOBY will grow from the small particles in the shop bought kombucha. Once you have your SCOBY, you can decant the liquid that it grew in, which is often quite vinegary and not necessarily that tasty to drink. Or you can add something to the liquid to improve the flavour, and that can be your first batch of kombucha. To make a kombucha, it is very simple and we just need a few ingredients. We have 5 tea bags, some sugar, this is coconut sugar, about a cup. This is actually a bit less than a cup, but it's fine. Some boiling water, just need a jar and a wooden spoon. So I'm just going to start by popping the sugar into the jar. The jar needs to be big enough to fit your SCOBY. Don't make the mistake I did of having too small an opening and then the SCOBY won't go in. It sort of gets stuck in the opening, so a nice wide opening is ideal. Okay, so now I try and dissolve the sugar in the hot water. So it goes without saying that, well, it doesn't go without saying you must use a heat-proof glass container, otherwise it could shatter when you pour the hot water in. I'm just going to dissolve the sugar. Okay, once the sugar is dissolved, you can start popping your tea bags in. I only had tea bags with the little tags, so I'm taking those off. I've used 5 tea bags. I don't think it has to be precisely 5. So now you stir the sugary tea solution, and the most important part is not to put your SCOBY in while the tea is still hot, because it will kill the bacteria in the SCOBY. So what I do is I wait for the tea to brew and cool to room temperature. At that point, I remove the tea bags and I place the SCOBY in, and I cover with a muslin cloth or a cheesecloth. An elastic band. At that point, you can put your solution with the SCOBY into an airing cupboard. A warm airing cupboard is ideal, or your kitchen pantry if you have a cupboard or an area that receives a good room temperature heat 24 hours a day, then your kombucha will ferment and be produced quicker. If you don't have an area that is heated at night or during the day, then it will take longer for your kombucha to ferment. With the size of my SCOBY, and our house is usually about 20 degrees in the daytime and 10 at night, it usually takes my kombucha a week or two to ferment. You can taste the kombucha whenever you wish. You could just dip a small scoop in to try it, and if the solution is too sweet for your taste, then you keep fermenting longer. And if the solution, the fermented tea, is too vinegary, then you've possibly fermented the drink a bit too long. But some people like their kombucha a touch on the vinegary side. If you have over fermented the drink, it's still quite drinkable. It won't hurt you, but you may want to add some stevia, or you could heat up the solution. Take the SCOBY out first, heat up the solution, and dissolve some more sugar in to add some sweetness to your taste. When the solution is ready for drinking, I usually decant it into a bottle like this. I pop the lid on, and then I put it back in the pantry for, well, it depends on the temperature, but another few days or a week, in order to do a second fermentation. This is optional and adds some extra fizz to the drink. So some people like their kombucha with a bit of fizz, and some people like it without the fizz, and the second fermentation is done without the SCOBY. The SCOBY remains in the jar. The fermented tea goes into your new bottle. You pop the lid on, nice and tight, and keep an eye on the drink to see how fizzy it is to your taste. Please be careful not to over-fizz your drink, just in case there is too much pressure in the bottle. With any fermentation, there is a risk of exploding bottles. I have never had that happen, but it's certainly something I would warn people about. And the other thing to note is, as with any fermentation, a small amount of alcohol is produced. I believe the amount is quite minimal, but if you are pregnant or averse to drinking small amounts of alcohol, then this may not be the drink for you. Once you've finished your first batch of kombucha, then your SCOBY is ready to create another batch of kombucha, or you can just leave it in the jar with a little bit of sweet tea solution covering the SCOBY, and it should be fairly happy. I found my SCOBY is quite hard to kill, and I've never had any issues with mould, but one of the things to look out for is mould on the SCOBY. If you see furry green mould or very white mould, then personally I would throw out the SCOBY and the solution, the tea drink that you are making, and start again. It's probably best just to play it safe. If you see anything that doesn't look like a SCOBY, any sort of mould, throw the whole lot out and start again. Other than that, once it's fermented, I pop the jar in the fridge. This slows or stops the fermentation further while you drink it. It seems to last for weeks and weeks. I've never had any go off. I think it may be the acidity from the vinegar that it produces, the acetic acid, I believe. And this particular cup here is one I produced many weeks ago. So the final step, an unexpected step in this case, is that my tea bags split when I was brewing my tea. So I'm going to strain the tea into a new jar for the fermentation so that there are no bits of tea in with the SCOBY. So first things first, I'm going to put the SCOBY in the new jar. That's it. Just going to put my muslin cloth on top. Now that's all ready to go into your pantry for fermentation. I hope this video has been a helpful experience for you. Feel free to leave comments below